Okay, let's talk about that incident for a minute. So, if you watched it, let's just rewatch it again real quick, everyone. That's not the right screen I want you to see. Okay, we're gonna rewatch this. I'm gonna keep it muted. So, this isn't a good angle. We need the front angle because the front one is. Yeah, I'm gonna like that Matt Spinfall. The front one is what really shows what it looked like. Whatever. Yeah, the race was better. Okay. Here's the deal. I wish they'd show the front angle is the one that really shows it. Also, I really appreciate Verstappen. He just got out of the car and he just dipped. The man was just gone. He was just like, I'm done. So you can see them. First of all, Verstappen has the speed coming in. He is right there. Lewis does not give him enough space. At all. The man was, if you think, I'm going to be honest, if you think that Lewis gave him enough space, honestly, I don't know what to say to you because he didn't. He was a foot and a half away from the curb. That's not enough space when you're side by side racing. Like, I'm sorry. I respect you, Hamilton, but you need to be better. It needs to not be a penalty. Again, if they were going to give out a penalty, it would have been to Hamilton, not to Verstappen. Yeah, I know he has the penalty. That's why it's stupid. He was next to Lewis. Max was right alongside him. It was good racing. Hamilton didn't give him enough space. So at that point, call it a racing incident, call it a day, and be done with it. Because at the end of the day, they're racing. They're having, they're racing hard. Josie, thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate that. But you can't just decide. You can't just decide that.
Let's keep the train going, guys.
That's a penalty.
Fire.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's not. Yeah, I agree with you, Mariana. I think it is going to end poorly because this doesn't look good on the FIA. Honestly, it looks really bad. It looks really bad. It looks like favoritism. I'm going to be perfectly honest. As someone that has been following sports for a while, and if you've ever watched American football, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There are times when it feels like referees in American football have favoritism, and that is a problem. You cannot have favoritism when you're deciding rules, especially when you are talking about a 3-place grid penalty. A 3-place grid penalty for racing hard. Verstappen had his tires warmed up. He was coming down the straight. Hamilton was leaving the pits. If you want to race, that's fine. Hamilton needed to leave room. That's just a fact. That is just a straight up fact. Also, guys, if you want to hear more on this discussion from people other than myself, we will be talking about it on the podcast on Thursday. So drop a follow on the podcast if you haven't yet. Add the side podcast. Would love to see you there. And we will definitely be talking about this race, obviously, and the incident itself because it's just insane. TikTok, come hang out on Twitch at BaristaJoshF1 on Twitch if you want to come party it up. We're giving away McLaren merch. It's not okay. Especially, yeah, he should honestly take his power unit penalty at this point because why not? Oh yeah, it did. There's a photo that I saw. Wait, let me see if I can find it. Someone DM'd it to me. Someone DM'd me this photo. And it was, oh yeah, here it is. I'll show you guys. This photo is terrifying. I'm glad that everyone's okay. The photo is absolutely terrifying. This is crazy. But again, I can't fathom how you can think that the correct option, Lewis does not always back out. Let's first of all say, first of all, shout out to the Halo for literally saving Hamilton's life today. This could have been a really bad race otherwise. I just can't wrap my head around how you can think this is the choice that makes sense. After watching the footage back, after looking at everything, the correct option is to, like, not give a penalty to either of them. You know? It's a racing incident. It's one that sucks, and it took them both out. But I mean, look at what. Let's take a moment, okay? Let us take a walk back. Yeah, exactly. Just because Lewis is in a dangerous situation doesn't mean it's not his fault. But I still think it was definitely Hamilton's fault. But I think you call it I think you call it a racing incident. Here's my thank you, Katie. I appreciate your honesty. Here's my main issue. If you're gonna call it a penalty, and you're gonna call it a grid penalty on the next race, please explain to me the small penalty that you gave Hamilton at Silverstone FIA. That right there, that is what makes me mad, because that doesn't make any sense. Because Hamilton, yeah, you want to talk about gaining? Verstappen and Hamilton were out. Sure, Max gained because they were both out, so he kept his lead. You want to talk about gaining? Talk about the race where Hamilton shunted Verstappen into a mother-freaking wall, won the race, and got a piddly little penalty for it. He kept racing. Verstappen was completely out and got a small second penalty. Here we are, an incident where they're racing side by side, good hard racing. It's what we want to see. And Verstappen gets a 3-place grid penalty on the next one. That's huge. That is a giant penalty, honestly. 10 seconds. Thank you. Yeah, 10-second penalty at Silverstone. It didn't make sense. Exactly. You can't tell me that Lewis Hamilton is the greatest racing driver of all time and then honestly defend this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as a defense. You can't say someone is an amazing F1 driver, but then not fault him at all. Yes, Verstappen could have backed out, but we're not talking that Verstappen had enough room and didn't back out. We're talking about that he didn't have enough room. You don't base a punishment on the basis of the outcome. I don't even understand what you're saying. That's literally what you do. It's what you... I mean, that's what the FIA is doing, apparently. Like, that's literally what the FIA is doing. They're just deciding that certain incidents are more important and other ones are not. Which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, exactly. You can't... Exactly. Thank you, Eleanor. I agree. Either one of them could have backed out. They didn't, because they're great drivers. They want to win, and I respect the hell out of both of them for that. And then you're going to come in and say that one of them is at fault, like, because of not backing out. Like, taking everything out aside, if you're going to talk about not backing out, that doesn't make sense. Have I read the stewards report? No, I've not read the stewards report yet. Is it... Where can I... tell me where I can find it. I'm gonna look it up. We're gonna read this together, everyone. Let's read this together. 33, collision with car 44. The stewards heard from the driver of car 33, the driver of car 34, and team representatives reviewed the video evidence, determined that the driver of car 33 was predominantly to blame for the collision. Car 44 was exiting the pits, correct. Was on the main straight, correct. The 50-meter board before turn 1, significantly ahead of car 33. I don't know about that. I didn't see this car to get any further forward than just behind the front wheel of car 44, which is a fair spot to be. Opening the steering after when squeezing him to this apex turn 2. That's true. Very late and should be given up the corner either by backing out sooner or by turning left behind the curb. Driver car 4 was driving in the avoiding line, although his position caused car 33 to go onto the curb. Stewards observed the car 33 was not all alongside. That's such bullshit, honestly. That's such bull. That's literally the biggest amount of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. You know what that says? You know what that statement says? That statement says you can't race anymore. Okay, so basically what's that saying is if you're racing, because it's literally talking about the braking, it's saying you can't late brake. What do you mean you can't late brake? I'm sorry, FIA. You don't want them to race? First of all, let's review that that he is literally, Verstappen is on warm tires. He's been out for an entire lap. Hamilton just came out of the pit, so his tires are not nearly as warmed up. His brakes are probably not nearly as warmed up. And you're gonna say that, like, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I'm totally fine with the side-by-side racing. I don't care about that. That's incredible. I love to see it. But you can't then penalize someone for literally racing. That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. FIA equals Hamilton. Yes. So those are my thoughts. I don't know. I could talk about this for an hour because it's really frustrating as someone that has been in sports for so long and has been in a lot of sports and has seen how stupid penalties like this can completely ruin a season, a career. It's problematic. It's problematic. Oh my God, yes, I was literally just talking about the difference in penalties between here and Silverstone. It doesn't make sense. Again, I'm not saying Hamilton should have gotten a penalty. I'm saying it should have been a motherfucking racing incident. Yeah, also Valtteri, let's talk about Valtteri, who took out 5 cars in Hungary because of his error. 5 place grid penalty. Verstappen takes out 1 car, 3 place grid penalty. It's like the FIA has a dartboard of punishments, and they go, wah. And then they're like, Hamilton hit Verstappen, wah. 10-second penalty, cool. Oh, Valtteri ran into 5 cars. Ooh, a 5 place grid penalty, cool. It just doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. If you're gonna give penalties, it needs to be consistent. It needs to make sense. And it doesn't. And the biggest problem for me is reading that statement and reading the line. It literally says, while car 44 could have steered further from the curb to avoid the incidents, was reasonable, and therefore the car of 33. So he didn't give him enough space, then, is what you're saying. Car 33 braked late and started to move alongside car 44. And it's just like, okay, cool. What? I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. I don't care. I don't care about opinions right now, honestly. Like, I don't care if I'm gonna hurt your feelings if you're a Hamilton fan. Because first of all, because I'm not saying it was Hamilton's. Well, I am saying it was Hamilton's fault that they crashed. I'm still saying it should be a racing incident. There should have been no penalties given out. They should have had a talk with the drivers, been like, hey, we get it. You guys both want to win. You guys both want to win this championship, which is fine. Yeah, Infinite, you can leave if you literally don't have. If you want to disagree, that's fine. What we're talking about right now is what doesn't make sense with FIA penalties, and it doesn't make sense. And it literally doesn't make sense. I think most people can agree that at the minimum, Hamilton should have not have gotten a penalty. Verstappen shouldn't have gotten a penalty. There shouldn't have been any penalties, and it should have been a racing incident. And it's just like incident. No, it's I was talking about it on TikTok, and I almost said incident. So it's just like the basis of that statement that they released literally says you can't race. It's very inconsistent. And again, I would be completely fine with these penalties if they weren't so inconsistent. That's the main problem for me. If you want to give penalties, then make sure they're consistent. And then I'm cool with it. Like, it's totally fine. If you want to give penalties and have them not make sense and honestly look like favoritism toward teams, toward drivers, this could be completely flipped. Hamilton could be there on the inside. Verstappen could be on the outside. It still wouldn't look good. Yeah, Max should have gone for the move because he literally had the spot. So, yeah. It's not a rant, Infinite. We're having a discussion. If you have a problem, you can leave, or I'll have a mod make you leave. Your decision. So, if you have a problem, fine. Deal with it. Have a civil conversation. FIA equals Mercedes equals Hamilton. Yeah. So again, I'm just saying, like, this is one of those things, like, I'd like to clarify. I'm not upset at Hamilton. I'm, like, a little upset because, in my opinion, he was more at fault to an extent. But I'm not, like, mad at Hamilton. It's a racing incident. So, like, cool. But I'm upset at the FIA because they don't make sense. They literally make zero sense.